What day is it? I know we did this bit with Lego Batman, but I can't stop. I do not have a problem. It's everyone else who has the problem. La 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 la. Hello, my name is Hunter, the movie reviewing pony, because when it comes to cinema, humans cannot be trusted. I'm also not fond of whatever festering creature Donald Trump is. I'm pretty sure that's not a human. Lego is the biggest toy manufacturer on the planet and the world's most powerful brand name, which is astounding because it looked like they were in a hell of a lot of trouble back in 2008. No one can really explain how we all love it, but we all love it. Everyone's heard of Lego, and millions of people have picked up a Lego at some point in their lives. I mean, look at all the ones I own. This one's the big old Saturn V rocket. Pretty cool, pretty cool. Lego Chrome Crusher, that's in pretty good condition. Several shelves devoted to Lego Dimensions, like multiple shelves all devoted to various different Lego Dimensions. My homemade stuff is just a spaceship. This one's just a battleship type spaceship with an overexposed bridge. A fast attack frigate. I took inspiration from the Normandy from Mass Effect. Came up with this. A ship from Starbound, which everyone mistakes for a Hammerhead cruiser. Tiny Lego tank that I can't find it in my heart to take this one apart. I was particularly proud of this one. This is a space fighter with excessive amount of weaponry. One of those old Bionicles with the head that jumps forward, but I gave him a sniper rifle and a chain gun. Lots of us have that one minifigure that we get super attached to. This one's mine. His name's Jim. And to say Lego is everywhere would be an understatement. As of 2015, it was reported that 600 billion Lego parts had been made and are out in the world. But as big of a toy brand as it is, that's not what we're here to talk about today. Back in 2014, Lego officially went to the big screen with the Lego Movie. And it's kind of ironic because Lego didn't want to do it at first, but it was a hit. They announced that it was getting a sequel less than a year later, a 4D attraction at Legoland, several spin-off movies, and of course that weird Unikitty TV show with Tara Strong. Not to mention, it was a huge critical success with an above-average score on IMDb, 95% on Rotten Tomatoes, and a 3.9 on Facebook. Who said Facebook was allowed to review movies? Well, they're on there! 3 years later, Lego Batman came out of nowhere and blew us away again. Before they immediately dropped the ball later that year with Lego Ninjago. I didn't review Lego Ninjago. I didn't even go to see Lego Ninjago. Lego Ninjago was fundamentally flawed. It felt shoehorned in with the rest of our Lego movies, but this one was purely meant to sell Lego sets, which is never a good MO when you're making a movie. So many things always go wrong with that. But you know what? 2 out of 3 isn't bad, and there's still time to save this franchise. Let's see if a follow-up movie to one of the most highly acclaimed animated movies of all time can save this thing. So, go ahead, the Lego Movie 2, the second part. Impress me. The Lego Movie 2, the second part. Vaguely implying that there might be a third part after this one. Also, spoiler alert. Trailers for this started all the way back at either June or July. I remember because we posted our solo review and our impressions video for the trailer on the same day, and the impressions video got more views than the solo review. Like, wow, you guys really want to hear my opinion on this. Actually, if I'm to be honest, I avoided a lot of the trailers for this. Really, the only one I saw was the one that I had to do an impressions video on. But that usually means I'm excited for something. If I watch fewer trailers, it means I'm excited for the movie and don't want spoilers, and if I'm watching more trailers, it means I want to rip the movie apart. Like the upcoming Star Wars Episode 9. So that's a good sign. What isn't a good sign is that this movie is tanking at the box office. And it probably doesn't take a genius to figure out why. Lego Ninjago. Lego Ninjago poisoned the Lego movie. There's a saying, one bad apple spoils the bunch, and that couldn't be any more true for a franchise of movies. Even though the Lego Ninjago movie was directed by completely different people. Of course, what doesn't help is that Phil and Chris, the original directors of the Lego movie, were still on as producers. And they're still on as producers for this, too. But I guess it does help that Warner Animation Group, or WAG as I love calling them, they've been on a roll lately. Even with Teen Titans Go to the Movies, which apparently was surprisingly okay. Warner Brothers usually doesn't let things slip through the cracks. Even with the DC movies, they're apparently making a comeback. Aquaman is starting to turn things around. Who would have guessed? Nobody. The answer is nobody. Nobody would have guessed that because it is Aquaman. And there's still some big names attached to this too. Will Arnett is back, Chris Pratt is back, and Will Ferrell is back technically. And now we have Tiffany Haddish, Stephanie Beatriz, and Maya Rudolph. Oddly enough, yes, I know these names. In fact, one of them was on Brooklyn Nine-Nine. But the stakes are incredibly high for this movie. My expectations are through the roof, not to mention this is coming off of the Lego Ninjago movie. Going into this, things are already not looking good, and WAG needs this to be good. So, it's been 5 long, grueling, unbearable, to be frank, years. Was the movie good?
Yes! 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 Yes!
And thank God, I needed this to be good. I really needed this to be good. I've been binge-hating Star Wars and listening to social justice warriors go on and on about how much they hate the new Ghostbusters teaser. We're running out of good things in this world, and I didn't want to lose this. In fact, that's kind of the message in this movie. Actually, there's a lot of messages in this movie, like, we need to get along, or things aren't gonna get better if we just sit here and do nothing. Or probably the biggest message in this movie, shut up and get along. Everything can be fun if we just try. I mean, it's thinking like that started the Brony fandom, and look where that got us. And thankfully, none of these messages is about gender politics. Nothing in this movie is really about gender politics. I shouldn't have to praise a movie for a lack of gender politics, but this is the society we're living in, and I'm praising the movie for a lack of gender politics. I'm praising it for that and this movie's fantastic writing. This movie can be serious when it needs to be, but it can also be funny at a lot of points. That, and there's a lot of jokes aimed at adults in this. And thankfully, they skipped out on the voting machines joke this time. This also might be a musical, I'm not sure. I do know, however, that the animation for this movie is fantastic. It usually is. All of the Lego movies go out of their way to do a stop-motion-y type of thing for all of these films. I'm pretty sure they do it to pay homage to the old stop-motion Lego movies that everyone would make, and there's still plenty of them floating around on the internet. You really don't have to look for them. You can even find stop-motion sets for this movie and download an app off of your phone. And once again, you couple that in with the fact that this is actually a fully computer-animated film, and you can do a lot with that. With a much bigger budget from the first movie, leads to a lot of eye candy. As well as some excessively complicated Lego contraptions, which make my creations feel insignificant by comparison. Except the tank. I will always be proud of that tank. And I don't know why, but I want to praise this movie for being anatomically correct with all the Lego figures. Even the mini dolls hop around with their 2 legs, it's adorable. And yeah, I figured out what they're called, by the way. They're called mini dolls, which I wanted us to fight Jack Stone, which is an older set of Lego. So you can look it up. But yeah, I don't know why I'm praising the movie for this. Probably because the Playmobil feels the need to have them bend their arms. And if I'm gonna judge the Playmobil movie on the fact that they can move their legs separately and bend their arms, I have to hold the Lego movie to the same standards as everybody else. I mean, I do that anyway, so it's really not a problem. And hey, this is better than when they move all of their limbs however the hell they want, like in all of the games or the animated movies that they do on Cartoon Network. Again, don't know why I'm praising the movie for this. Maybe I'm obsessive compulsive. I did, however, notice a distinct lack of water in this movie. Water is my Lego enemy because they can never really animate it correctly. In the first movie, the entire ocean was made of Lego bricks, and I said they fixed it in Lego Batman, but it drove me crazy. In this one, I think it's actually just made of cloth in the few moments we actually see water. Though then again, most of this movie takes place in space, so the lack of water is understandable. This movie also has a more unpredictable plot than I was expecting. This movie was being smart, smarter than it needed to be. There was time travel involved in everything, which is honestly kind of impressive because this movie's plot is supposed to be conceived by the imagination of two children. I wish I was this creative when I was a kid. I wish I had more Legos when I was a kid. It does tend to jump around a little bit, but it's easy enough to follow. There aren't too many characters we actually need to follow. And the movie actually used the 5-year time skip at the beginning to its advantage, and I don't see that often enough. A lot of things will just have a time skip for the sake of having a time skip. But no, the kids actually grew up. And the movie also kinda technically grew up a little, or at least it tried to. But it really clicked with me, because I feel like a child at heart. I mean, look at me, I'm spending my day reviewing the Lego Movie 2. You really think I'm ready to grow up? And one major thing that's been plaguing the Lego films is that this movie starts going, and it stays going. There isn't an ultra super flashy opening for this movie. Unless, I guess, you count the bit before the 5-year time gap and the Duplo Wars. Don't get me wrong, there is a slowdown, but it's handled way, way better. It still screams, hello, this is our movie, sit down, shut the fuck up, and watch it, though. And can I just say, I love that formula. It really works. Open it up loud and proud, and then settle in for the ride. I can't believe it, but somehow, miraculously, they've recovered from Lego Ninjago, which was pure poison. Alright, what was bad? Well, there were a few things. Like, for example, our major characters from the last movie are taking more of a backseat role with this movie. President Business, our reformed antagonist from the first movie, barely makes an appearance, as a matter of fact. But it feels like this movie's more about Emmett and Wildstyle. Everyone else is just sort of along for the ride, even Batman. I suppose you could say they're evolving beyond the need of a supporting cast, but I still like those characters. Metalbeard's fun because he's a pirate made of wood. Benny is fun because he's like the ultimate callback to old 1980s Lego sets. Unikitty is fun and cutesy, and I love her and she's mine now. And Batman is the goddamn Batman. Why are they being cast aside? One thing that hit me kinda hard in this movie was they sort of did a fake out ending where they said the end, but then the movie kinda just kept going. They were making a joke about cliffhanger endings, but everything after the joke kind of felt like an afterthought because I kept thinking that the movie was going to end at any second. It didn't, and it wrapped itself up pretty nicely, but it still felt really weird. I was having like a psychological panic attack almost. Mainly because I've seen it so many times. That was mean. I thought they went down a deep, deep hole. Thankfully they didn't, so I guess it's okay, but it's still kind of mean. It also kind of feels like the basic formula of this movie is following the same basic formula as the first movie. The live action bits showed up around the same parts of the plot, too. It makes it a little bit predictable, but the plot's still okay, and I'm not gonna knock too much off for that. But is it really fair to compare this movie to its predecessor? Well, actually, yes. Yes, it is incredibly fair. Knowing that, let's drill down to a basic question. Is the Lego Movie 2 a good movie? Is it as good as the Lego Movie 1? No. Is it worth tanking at the box office? also know. At the end of the day, this movie's in trouble, and it makes me sad. And if it makes me sad, then they must have done something right. So, what's my final score for this movie? 9.7. Keep in mind, the original had a 9.8. Yes, everything is indeed still awesome, except the fact that this movie is failing. And you know what? That's a shame. Because this movie's trying to be entertaining and live up to its predecessor. And you know what? It does that. It does that really well. It could have been better, but it definitely could have been worse. My advice? For the love of God, see this movie. Help this movie. Because if this movie fails at the box office, we've lost. It's over. I will quit movie reviews and start up a pottery channel if you guys don't go see this movie. Alright, I'm kidding about the pottery thing because I can't really do pottery with hooves. I tried once and it was terrible. My name is Hunter, and this has been a Hunter Review.
There once was a guy who created a machine, a thing that would take people to and from some other world. And when he arrived, he had run into a pony who smiled and decided that they both should go see a film. When that movie sucked, they decided to join forces, and then they created a new show called Hunter Reviews.